Hey guys, and welcome back to Monifactory. So in the last episode, we expanded the list of LV machines in our collection. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 we now have, which I would say firmly cements us in the LV chapter. In fact, we managed to get our trophy. We also fixed our sugarcane farm to be fully automatic, and it's now automatically supplying our furnaces with fuel, as well as some upgraded dynamos. So we're now running steam boilers, 2 sets of steam boilers into steam turbines, and some of that power is being funneled into a simulation chamber. We only have one running a zombie model right now, and it's produced a little bit of zombie matter. It hasn't been too much time since last episode. One of the goals for today though, as I mentioned last time, is to automate pulsating polymer clay. Wait, no, wait. What is it called? Pulsating Prediction Matrix. I keep getting confused with 1.12, where this is not 1.12. But yeah, we'll have some fun setting up the first automation line of the series. First of all though, I want to have a look at the blast furnace, which we also managed to get crafted right at the end of episode 2. We are missing a few things to get it up and running though, one of which is an energy converter. This only leaves us with 8 circuits left, and we'll need circuits to make more LV machines to automate Pulsating Prediction Matrix. But yeah, we have many of the basic LV machines by now. I did forget about a polarizer. It's super cheap actually, not even requiring a circuit, so we might as well go ahead and craft one of these. We just need some 2x tin cable or 2x tin wire, and we can craft ourselves the polarizer. The polarizer is going to save us redstone, as it can turn rods into magnetic rods. That is an interesting sound. Yeah, otherwise we have to spend 4 redstone per rod, and this way it just costs power and the rod of your choice. And these magnetic rods, yeah, mostly they're used in the motor crafts. So let's see if we can't plug in this blast furnace and get it running some aluminium dust, which we did manage to batch a little bit of last episode, so there's a few stacks here ready to go. We're going to have to plug in our energy converter. This time we've made a 4 amp energy converter, which means we only need, I'm sure I had it crafted here, 4x tin cable. Remember, our golden rule is to match the amperage of the energy source. So 4x energy converter, 4x energy cable, and this is all LV. Where's my wire cutters at? Here they are. I love this tool belt, by the way. I did upgrade it a few more times between videos. I think it was last episode though, but yeah. As you can see now, the energy hatches do have power, so the energy converter is converting RF into EU here. If nothing has changed here between versions, the minimum tier for a blast furnace is MV. We did just hook up 2 LV energy hatches though, and this is where overclocking comes in. We haven't really talked about overclocking. Most of you guys are going to be familiar with the concept of overclocking in gregtech, but essentially every 4 amps of the previous tier equals the next tier, and every energy hatch can accept a maximum of 2 amps. So we have 2 amps in this one, 2 amps in this one. That's 4 LV amps, which equals 1 MV amp. And the recipe for aluminium, and many of the other blast furnace recipes at MV we can run right now, is MV. It does say down here conveniently in EMI. But yeah, that's also equal to 128 EU a tick. This is 120, so it's slightly less than 4 amps of LV. Just to clarify, the way that we get to that 128 EU a tick value for MV, or basically any tier, is that it's 4 times the previous tier, so 32 times 4 is 128, you can see there on voltage in. And that is applicable at every single tier, so LV, MV, HV, EV, IV, and so on. So all of the machines we have right now can accept a maximum of 32 volts since they're LV, and that is equal to 1 LV amp. I hope this makes sense, but yeah, we are feeding 4 amps of LV, making 1 amp of MV in the blast furnace. So now all we need to do is provide the aluminium dust. Yeah, so circuit 1 is 20 seconds and circuit 2 is 13.4 seconds, both at MV, but this takes a bucket of nitrogen, which we don't really have right now, so at the moment we're just going to use the circuit 1 recipe. Slightly less efficient, but it should still get us aluminium nonetheless. And as you can see, it does need maintenance. So I was doing some reading on this earlier on, and it appears that maintenance isn't really such a big deal in this pack. It says you'll need to do maintenance for the multi-blocks to begin operating. This is done by having a wrench, a screwdriver, a soft mallet, a hammer, a wire cutter, and a crowbar in your inventory. Maintenance problems may occur after 48 real hours of activity. Needless to say, they're very rare. And each problem increases the recipe duration by 10%. So we don't want maintenance, but it shouldn't really be an issue, especially with just the one blast furnace at the moment. Although there is ways of automating the maintenance later in the pack, so I think all we have to do is that and we're in business. Look at this. Wait, I wish it was nighttime. Can we... Where's blood magic when you need it? This thing glows in the dark. It's so cool. I absolutely love the coil textures here. And how long is this recipe again? Oh, it's finished. It's finished. Where's the output bus? Yeah, so this is input bus. This is the dust. And we have our very first aluminium ingot. Quest complete. Wait, hold on. Can we also mute this as well? Nice. And yeah, you can see it's using 120 EU a tick as we assumed. So good to know that is correct. Well, for the moment, I'm just going to stick a barrel on the input bus. Actually, is this like CE where it automatically pulls from the barrel? Yes, it does. We don't need a conveyor on it like GTNH. And I'm assuming the output bus is also going to push. Does it send? Yes, it does. Awesome. So yeah, we're just going to batch craft with this. I'll get a whole bunch more aluminium made up from clay dust. And we're just going to let this run for the moment. So while the aluminium is cooking, we're also going to have to make energetic alloy, which we'll have a look at later on. But yeah, while the blast furnace is doing its thing, we're going to have a look at automating Pulsating Prediction Matrix. And just to remind you guys of the recipe here, it's an alloy smelter recipe from clay and pulsating dust. Pulsating dust is made from uraninite or resonant clathrates. We're going to pick the resonant clathrate recipe since it's renewable. We can make resonant ender from ender pearls and nether quartz from the electrolysis of glass. And glass we can get from pulverizing sand. Sand we can get from pulverizing gravel. Oh, it's a forge hammer recipe in this. Okay, we can forge hammer gravel for sand. And we can forge hammer cobble from gravel, and cobble is renewable. But since this is going to be a passive process, we want one machine per recipe. And we're basically out of circuits, so we have some crafting to do. Okay, it's nighttime, and I am super impressed with this blast furnace. I mean, look at it. I don't know why I'm so amused with it, but can you imagine all of these like lined up like what we're going to have later on in a big factory? Oh, it's going to be so sweet, but I need to stop procrastinating right now and actually craft some circuits and machines. Yeah. Let's do some crafting here. Let's do a little montage. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that. That was so much fun to put together. It's been a while since I've done one of those type of montages. So yeah, I spent the morning building this system. It doesn't quite work yet. We have a few more configurations to set up with the machines, which we'll do here together. So I've went ahead and put together this machine board here, which lists all the machines you'll need for this Pulsating Prediction Matrix automation in the early game. There might be one or two corrections as we iron out the system and test it, since I haven't actually tested it yet. And there is also two medium voltage machines listed here, a chemical reactor and an alloy smelter. But I've built this in such a way that it should be easy to swap them out once we have access to those machines. So it's going to be this alloy smelter right here and this chemical reactor are going to be swapped with medium voltage once we have access to those. So let's run through how this works, shall we? We have another dynamo set up here for, yeah, it's the same as we have on the other two. So steam boiler into steam turbine. And that's feeding its power into an 8 amp LV converter. And remember our golden rule, 8 amp source means 8x cable. So we have a 8x tin cable behind here to power all the LV machines. Once these are MV, we're going to have to do some alterations, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So for now, it kind of splits off in two ways here, and then it joins at the end. So starting at this side here, we have an igneous extruder underneath a forge hammer, and this has water on one side, lava on the other, so that we make cobblestone. So we need some way to move the cobblestone into the machine, and for that we're going to use a ULV conveyor module. A bit cheaper than the LV one, it only transfers 2 items a second, so I'm not sure that's going to be fast enough, but we can buy them with Moni nickels, so yeah, super cheap, and we're going to use this for now. Let's see, we need screwdriver, import. Yes, so this is turning cobble into gravel, and turning gravel into sand in the next forge hammer. And then one more forge hammer turns sand into dust. And then dust inside a chemical reactor with an aqueous accumulator underneath. 2 water sources on either side of this as well. And similarly, we need a way to move the water into the machine. And I did test the ULV pump, which again you can buy, but this wasn't fast enough. So for this we do need an LV electric pump. So we'll put that on the bottom of the machine and touching the aqueous accumulator. And once again, screwdriver for import. So now we're making clay, which is just output and buffered in the drawer next to the chemical reactor on the left hand side. And the final stage for clay is just to mix with pulsating dust. And we get our pulsating prediction matrix, which is going to be output here. So we need to get both clay and pulsating dust, which is going to be buffered in this drawer, made on the other side. We'll have a look at that in a moment. We need to get both of these items inside the alloy smelter, but we don't want one slot or both slots to fill with one item. Like, we don't want clay to end up like this and block the pulsating dust from entering the machine. So one of the best ways to achieve that is to use the gregtech item filter. We're going to craft 2 of these. And I've also bought 2 ULV robot arms, which, yeah, again, we can buy with Moni nickels. And these also transport 2 items per second. But unlike the conveyor, we have some extra fine control with the robot arms. So we're going to put 1 on either side of the alloy smelter. And then using our screwdriver, we will take an item filter. And up here, instead of transfer any, we're going to have this on keep exact so that we can specify that we want only 64 pulsating dust and 64 clay. And no more than 64. So yeah, we want this on import, and we want to set the exact same filter on the top of the alloy smelter. To change the number in the filter, just make sure you have it on keep exact, and then you can shift right click for increase and shift left click for decrease. So again, we'll have it on 64 and again on 64. Yeah, so now even though there is more clay available for it to pull into the machine, it's only allowing a maximum of 64 in here. So I'm not sure if we actually need the pulsating dust in the filter here on the right hand side, but we'll add it just for safety, since pulsating dust will come from above the machine. So yeah, that's the first side done. It's just 3 forge hammers, a chemical reactor, and an alloy smelter. And then igneous extruder underneath, or igneous extruder underneath here, aqueous accumulator underneath the chemical reactor. Coming around to the other side here, again, we've got an igneous extruder making us cobblestone, and we'll have another ULV conveyor module in here, and we're going to do pretty much the same thing, turning cobble into gravel, gravel into sand, and instead of sand into dust, we're going to smelt sand, so we're going to import that into the diamond furnace. Output goes to the right hand side into the drawer as a buffer, and I can't stress this enough, it is very important that you build buffers into passive systems. Not just for the finished product, the pulsating prediction matrix, but also the other steps along the way. So we're not buffering cobblestone, sand, and gravel on this side, but we are on... Well, I guess we're not buffering cobblestone. We'll have a separate system for that later on. But we are buffering gravel here and sand and what will be glass. So we need to get some furnace fuel into here. And so I've hooked it up to our sugarcane supply. So we want to set fuel input on the back of the furnaces on both. And then hook up the item pipe like so. Yeah, perfect. And so now we're turning sand into glass. Now, there is, in this version of gregtech, a better way to make glass, which is to use an arc furnace. And you'll actually get 2 glass with some oxygen. But that's a little bit more complicated and not really worth it in my estimation right now. So if it turns out that we're short on sand, I'm just going to build another 2 forge hammers and another furnace. And then somehow we'll... yeah, basically just double up the system. So now that we have glass, that has to be sent into the next machine, an electrolyzer. which is going to electrolyze glass into nether quartz. Right? Pretty slowly, but it does. And we want to output this to the top side, into the drawer as a buffer. So then it's going to be one more ULV conveyor on the chemical reactor to pull in the nether quartz. Yeah, this is going to be our resonant clathrate recipe. So we need resonant ender. That's going to come from the extractor below. So we need to feed that with ender pearls, and we don't have any source of ender pearls right now. I think we only have a couple left. Yeah, we have 5 to kickstart the system. But this is going to be one of our biggest bottlenecks for the time being, and in fact, I should have... Okay, let's finish this off first. Let's put the ender pearls in the extractor for resonant ender, and that's going to output its contents above. I think it's right-click for fluid auto output. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so right-click for fluids, left-click for items in this GUI. I'm still trying to get used to this. I'm still not such a big fan of it, to be honest. Anyways, that should make us... Oh, no. Oh, no, I just realized that this has to be MV. Yeah, wait, that's the wrong recipe. Yeah, here, you see this? Minimum tier is medium voltage, and we have this inside an LV machine. Okay, that was my mistake. I guess we can't have this LV. Yeah, do you remember when I said I hadn't tested this yet? Well, okay, let's finish setting this up and we'll swap the machines. Well, we need to work on getting MV machines, but yeah, we want a conveyor module right here, which will send the resonant clathrates into the next furnace. And the only reason the furnace is here is because it has access to the fuel supply. And then we're also going to have another tin item pipe, like so. And this is going to be the output of the furnace. So we want insert the top, output to the right on the second furnace. So that's going to import the resonant clathrates from the chemical reactor. In fact, I don't even think we need this one, to be honest. We can set auto output on this machine. Yeah, so the chemical reactor here, once it's MV, will make us the resonant clathrates. That gets smelted for pulsating dust. And then pulsating dust goes into the alloy smelter drawer here and gets pulled in via the robot arm that we configured. And then with any luck, should make us Pulsating Prediction Matrix. However, we are, we're going to need to get some MV machines. So quick update here on the count for aluminium. We're currently at, oh wow, 484. So a decent amount here. I did go and pick up some more terracotta from the Lost Cities. At the very least, we'll make sure we keep electrolyzing clay dust for aluminium and keep the blast furnace full. So yeah, I guess we're going to have to work on that MV chemical reactor, which isn't going to be quite as simple as just crafting the LV ones. We have... Wow, this is fast. Yeah, we have a few things left to do here before we can access MV. And I should have done this a while ago, but we're also going to craft another model framework and convert this into the next tier. So looking at the simulating resources chapter, we want to get a nether mob so that we start making hellish matter, so that we can start to make extraterrestrial matter, so that we can craft the Enderman data model. And the Enderman data model can make us Enderman pristine matter, which we can loot fabricate into ender pearls, send that into the extractor, and make this fully closed loop and fully passive. Since if you think about this, right, all the inputs are igneous extruder, which we're making from thin air, or basically from lava and water. The power we're getting from, again, water and sugarcane, which is infinite. Well, that's pretty much all the inputs here, right? The only other thing is the pearls, which we'll eventually get from the loot fabricator. So we want to get our hands on an Enderman model as soon as possible, and in fact, is there not a way we can craft... Oh yeah, there is a crafting recipe for extraterrestrial matter from hellish matter. And we can do this from Overworldian plus Netherrack. Is Netherrack craftable? It is craftable, and this is where our lava farm is going to come in handy. It was also handy for the igneous extruders, didn't have to hunt for lava. So we're going to have to make use of our chemical reactor here. I guess we're going to grab this. Oh, don't want to waste the resonant ender though, so I'm going to take this out of there. There's only one slot left for an LV machine here, but that's occupied by a trash can, which we kind of need because clay dust makes us water when we electrolyze. We don't want water to stop the process when it fills the internal buffer of the machine. So we're just trashing it here, and so instead I'm just going to place another tin cable here, and we'll put the chemical reactor here for now. Oh, it is connected. Nice, and we even have some excess dust in this chemical reactor, making us clay. And we are short some ender pearls for this craft. there is a crafting recipe for pearls. We can find them in the Lost Cities as well, which is how we got the first 5, or the first 6, however many we found. But there is also an extra crafting recipe from Pulsating Dust. But we're out of uraninite, so I'm just going to buy more uraninite ore. It's going to be a tiny little bit slower, but instead of just crafting straight into the Enderman model, I'm actually going to craft a blaze model first. And that way we don't have to use lava to make more hellish matter. I was also crafting some more Pulsating Prediction Matrix here manually, which we'll use to fuel the blaze data model, which can give us hellish matter, and then with that we can craft the Enderman model. And in the meantime, let's work on MV machinery, because I really want to get this up and running today. So do you guys remember when I said back in episode 1 that there might be recipes catching me off guard? Well, that day is today. Having a look at our quest book here, in order to get the first tier 2 circuits which we need to craft MV machines, we need a few things, one of which is an LV circuit assembler, which I talked about, and we're definitely going to pick that up, but we also need something called the phenolic circuit board, which is going to take phenol. And the way that we're going to get phenol is by using a Pyrolyse oven, which I just decided to go ahead and craft here. It wasn't super expensive, just takes a bunch of iron, a couple of extra circuits, which we're now pretty much out of, and a spare set of copper nickel coils, which we did have from last episode. It was meant for another blast furnace, but we won't have another one of these for a while. You might also notice that this is flickering a little bit here, which is not ideal. And that is because the brand new Enderman model, which we did manage to get crafted, we finally got enough hellish matter from the blaze model to craft the Enderman. So this guy here is consuming pretty much all the power. The Enderman takes 2048 RF a tick, which is quite a lot and way more than we are generating right now. So yeah, we have to be a bit careful. We do already have 8 pristines, which is good, but I think I might take this guy out of here for now. Yeah, these sim chambers here can store a lot of power. So once this buffer fills, the blast furnace will return back to normal and cook us aluminium. And speaking of aluminium, I mean, yeah, we're at a really good amount. So in fact, what I'm going to do is pause this. We should have enough aluminium for the time being at least. And so because we've now paused the blast furnace, that means we have all 4 amps available from this energy converter. So what we're going to do is just, yeah, hook up the Pyrolyse oven to the converter here. But we still have some amperage spare because the recipe we're going to run for phenol is only LV, so we only need the 1 energy hatch on here. And remember, energy hatches are 2 amp input. This is a 4 amp converter, so we have 2 extra amps to spare. And so 1 more of those amps is going to go into a fluid heater, which has an aqueous accumulator underneath to generate water. We need a pump on the bottom of the machine. So now the fluid heater is filling with water, circuit 1 I believe, and we're going to generate steam. Yes we are, excellent, and the steam is going to go into the input hatch of the Pyrolyse oven. Remember, hatches are for fluids, so we have input hatch, output hatch, which is where we should receive our phenol, and then input bus, output bus. Yeah, so we got the maintenance done here, and we can see there's a processing speed of 75%, and that is just because we're using copper nickel coils. These have a speed penalty, but copper nickel coils is the best we can craft right now, so it's just going to have to do. Okay, so looking at the recipe for phenol, there is a bunch of different ways we can do it, but the Pyrolyse oven is the easiest way for us at this point. We need to give it steam, which we're now supplying to the multi-block. We need to give it circuit 14, and then coal dust or coal, and we'll get a bucket of phenol and also some coke or coke dust. So circuit 14 we can set in the input bus. And I also spent the evening mining. So it got pretty late for me, so yeah, I just crafted another diamond hammer and went to various ore veins. I think it was copper, redstone, magnetite was a huge one. I spent a long time at the magnetite vein again. The Pyrolyse oven and all the LV machines we've crafted ate a lot of our iron and steel. So yeah, it was kind of crucial that we visited a magnetite vein again. And then also with the help of a cow nearby, no cows were harmed in the making of this portal. I went ahead and crafted a nether portal. Or in this pack, it's actually a nether cake, which can transport you to the nether. So the cake itself wasn't too difficult to craft. And the reason I went to the nether is for another material we'll need for MV circuits, which is sphalerite. So I didn't spend too long in the nether. In fact, most of the time was spent in the overworld veins. So we only have 39 sphalerite ore. But we are going to get all of this macerated. But in the meantime, let's try to run our Pyrolyse oven. So I did spend a long time... Oh yeah, coal was another big vein I visited. I was in a coal vein and we picked up tons and tons of coal here, which we're going to turn into phenol. So we can give this in the input bus. And it should turn on. Oh yes, the coils even glow as well. That's super awesome. That's the sound of success. That is the sound of progress. Yeah, I guess I never really talked about the muffler hatches either. There is a muffler hatch on the blast furnace too. Yeah, it says the muffler hatch must be unobstructed, so it can output its beautiful smoke particles. When a recipe is performed, there's a small chance for the muffler hatch to give bonus items, typically tiny dusts of ash. It voids excess when full, so not to worry about it stopping machines from running. So we're pretty much just going to ignore it. Ash is useful for getting things like carbon, but there's other ways to get carbon. In fact, I've been centrifuging a bunch of stuff for carbon. I don't remember what I centrifuged for this. Anyways, yeah, as you can see, we got our phenol here. I'm just going to place some barrels so that we can keep on going. I'm going to place a tank here for the phenol. I don't know, by the way, what tanks we have access to in this pack. I've just been using these Ender IO ones, which can only store 16 buckets, I believe. So it's not really ideal. But yeah, we really only need a tiny amount of phenol to progress here. So the phenol is going to be used to upgrade the circuit board used in the circuits. Right now we've been using the resin printed circuit board for the basic electronic circuit. But if we send this through a chemical reactor with phenol, we'll craft a whole bunch more of them here. Oh yeah, I have to have this on empty mode. Oh yes, this really is the sound of success. I love it. Phenolic circuit boards, which should be a quest. And then with some silver wire, which is not terribly efficient right now, but we have to do things the inefficient way. How does the old saying go again? Sometimes you have to be inefficient to be efficient. So right now we're going to use silver wire to make our phenolic printed circuit boards, but later on we can in fact use sodium persulfate or iron 3, which is much more efficient. So looking at the recipe for the MV circuits, this is what's going to allow us to craft the medium voltage machines. We need 3 LVs. Unfortunately, we only have 4 LVs left, so we're going to have to craft some more of those. Okay, cool. Another 18 circuits. I know the last batch I said was going to be our last outside of a circuit assembler, but I've kind of tunnel visioned on getting these machines right now, so I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's not the most efficient way. If you guys are also playing this pack, then I would definitely recommend doing circuits before you start messing with Pulsating Prediction Matrix, but we're committed at this point. So the final thing we need for these tier 2 circuits is diodes, and to get diodes, we have to have gallium arsenide dust or silicon wafers, but we're going to use gallium arsenide for now. So the way you get gallium arsenide is from arsenic dust plus gallium. And you remember all that sphalerite ore that we collected, which is almost done macerating? Yeah, crushed sphalerite ore. Oh nice, there's some more raw iron. And charcoal dust, which we can turn into steel. Yes, excellent. Steel is a big bottleneck for us at the moment. So there are a couple of different methods of obtaining gallium, but the way we're going to get it is by using a thermal centrifuge. One more machine to add to our collection. Let's put it down right here. And this thing has, I believe, a 33% chance of giving us a full pile of gallium dust from crushed sphalerite. So I'll go back to the nether between episodes and get a whole bunch more of this ore. But for now, this should give us enough gallium for what we need. For the circuits though, you might remember that the recipe calls for gallium arsenide dust. In fact, it's over here is the quest. So we have to mix gallium with arsenic, and arsenic is most efficiently created in the centrifuge from Realgar. So we had a bit of Realgar ore, but I did just buy another full stack. And so now after the centrifuge does its thing, we already have 22. We can mix that with our gallium for gallium arsenide. We already have a little bit of it here. So now, I was almost extremely concerned for a moment there This is just a checkmark quest. I was almost extremely concerned at the diode recipe, as I seen it takes liquid polyethylene, which is a plastic, and that is a whole bunch of chemistry we're not going to get into right now. But there is a separate recipe for glass, plus copper wire, fine copper wire, and also small piles of gallium arsenide, which we should be able to do like this. Maybe it's in a 3x3. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, nice. And not too long later, we have 13 diodes. There's more in the assembler cooking up right now, but that is also our quest. And finally, we can create our good electronic circuits. I'm only going to make 2 of these for now. Again, very underwhelming questings in this. I kind of wish we had the old style questings. It's much more satisfying that way, but yeah, I'm only going to make 2 circuits for now, as I really want to get a circuit assembler, since afterwards, rather than doing this recipe for MV circuits, we can instead do it in the circuit assembler and save ourselves an LV circuit. This one takes 2 circuits and this one takes 3. So yeah, it's much more efficient. It does cost us some liquid tin, but this is only an ingot, and tin is basically free. So I'd much prefer to get the circuit assembler. The circuit assembler does take an MV circuit, well, 2 MV circuits. So yeah, I guess we're only missing an LV machine hull, and also, what is this, an LV emitter? Oh yeah, we haven't made an LV emitter yet. And we need quartzite and brass. Okay, the brass we have, and the quartz, we have not found a nether quartz vein yet, which is where you get quartzite from. So for now, I'm just gonna buy the ore. I think I cut it out of the episode earlier on, but the quest book gave us this thing. I bought ores with Moni coins, and yes, we did. We're gonna take full advantage of that. It's super useful for only needing a little bit of quartzite here and there. Anyways, there is our LV emitter, and also our circuit assembler, which I did prepare an extra space for. Oh, I guess we're missing a tin cable. Yeah, the circuit assembler, and we're making some progress through the next quest chapter, the early game. However, with the circuit assembler, we are going to end the episode right here. I know I said I wanted to get these MV machines, but we do still need a little bit of extra crafting to do before we can unlock those. As of course it does take the... I'm going to take this off. Yeah, that's going to take a few more materials we haven't looked at yet, and besides, I do want to batch craft MV circuits before we start to use them. And now that we have the circuit assembler, we can start to do so. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. I know we went over time again. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I guess we're finishing once again in an ore deposit. I'm going to collect a bunch more sphalerite. So yeah, thank you very much for watching once again. I hope you have an excellent day, and I'll see you all soon for some more Monifactory.